This Downtime podcast is brought to you by BVM Moto. Shop online or in-store for great deals and get professional advice on your favourite bikes, parts, clothing and accessories.
Hello, and welcome back. It's been a little while since we last did one. Myself and Laurence are in the shop right now, and we thought we would skip back a bit really and kind of let you guys know our backstory and all about BVM really, didn't we? Rather than kind of, just chucking all the trials info out there. Quite a few of you might not realise or know who we are and know what we do. So we thought we would tell you a bit about our backstories.
Yeah, that's it really. We most people that listen to this probably know us from YouTube or maybe from kind of being customers at BVM. So yeah, we thought we'd just give a bit more information about ourselves, kind of explain how we ended up doing this. That type of thing really.
Yeah, definitely. So we've known each other a long time, haven't we?
Yeah, I can remember your first trial actually.
And
and you were on a little like TY80 because I am older than you by how many years?
Probably about 4, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm 43.
Oh, I'm 38 still at the moment, clinging on for another month. But yeah.
You look older though, don't you?
Yeah, everyone thinks I'm older. Had a hard paper round.
So yeah, I can remember your first trial, which was a Westwalch youth trial. I think you were on a little TY80, and I was kind of already in like youth B, I think, something like that, which sounds about right. So yeah, we both go back a long time in trials. We both rode as youth riders.
Yeah, and we've kind of known each other, well, ever since then, haven't we? So I was 9 when I started, so I've known you for pretty much 30 years.
Oh, God,
that is a long time,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that is a long time, yeah.
Get more for life, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think when you get to our type of age, it's weird because you kind of, you're kind of still young to the old people. The people in their like 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
They think we're still young, but you feel really old to some of like our like youth team riders who are like, kind of 12 upwards, I suppose.
Yeah, you think like, Christ, we've been adults the whole time they've been alive.
Yeah, and when you're kind of like talking to someone in their like early 20s, you think, Christ, I'm old enough to be your dad.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like it.
Let's not start any rumours on that.
No, let's not. No.
So really, I think today we'll mainly talk about you, Laurence. So I'm going to ask you some questions that I probably know, but I might not know all of them, to be fair. Which is like, how old were you and how did you start in trials?
I started riding a motorbike really young. My parents, or maybe Father Christmas actually, it was that long ago, bought me a PW50 from BVM actually, way back in the day.
Oh, it was from BVM, was it?
It was from BVM, yeah.
Okay.
And I was kind of lucky enough in a way to grow up. My dad was a chicken farmer, so we had kind of not a proper farm because there was just chickens in sheds, but there was space to ride bikes. So my parents got me a PW50 and I could blast that around the farm, which I did for, quite a few years really. And yeah.
So when did you actually get your first trials bike?
My first trials bike was a TY80, which to start with was I think, going off on a tangent a little bit and not talking about me, but there's quite a few steps when you're a youth rider, and one of them is going from like an automatic bike, or nowadays it's like an electric bike, isn't it?
Yeah.
To a petrol bike with gears. And
there's a big transition, isn't there, that everyone has to face at the moment.
And that was kind of one of the transitions, was getting on like a TY80, which was probably, I imagine, kind of I was probably just about big enough for it because my brother would have wanted the PW50.
How old were you then, sorry, when you got the 280?
I don't know. Probably, I reckon about 6 or 7, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe.
And your brother's like 3 years younger than you, isn't
Brother's 3 years younger than me.
So he would have been chomping at the bit for the, like you say, for the PW50.
Yeah. So yeah, had a TY80, and then we were living down south at the time, kind of in Midhurst, which is way down the south coast of the UK. And there was a few kind of, they called them like dads and lads days. I don't know if they still happen now. There's a big chalk quarry called Hanukkah Pit, I think it was called, and you could go there on a Sunday, and there was loads of bikes there, trials bikes, motocross bikes. I even remember some guy on one of those weird like trike type things, like 3 wheels, kind of just racing around.
So it's a bit more like just like a venue where you could take your off-road motorbikes in a way,
Exactly,
rather than an actual trial.
Yeah, they did have trials there.
Okay.
But it was very much, I think back in, what would have that been? That would have been kind of like the early 90s. So I think like kind of health and safety and insurance and all of that side of things was very different to what it is now, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a proper organised venue, you know. I can remember you had to pay and you couldn't go there all the time. The gate was locked, you know, kind of. But yeah, it was yeah, that was kind of my first introduction to kind of probably riding proper sections, I guess.
Okay. Was your dad a trials rider?
My dad was a trials rider, yeah. Kind of a reasonable clubman, I'd say, at best. You know, kind of like round here, he'd ride like kind of the middle route.
Yeah.
Never kind of rode any nationals or anything like that. But, you know, he could ride all right.
Yeah. There's a bit of a story behind that as well, because your dad, when he was a kid, wasn't it like the first time he saw a trial, he met Nipper Allen?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But it's strange how people come into trials. There's a few different stories for different people.
Yeah, but long story short with that is Nipper Allen, who's like a local guy around this neck of the
local
woods.
legend of an observer and kind of official in the kind of Western and Wessex Centre.
He ended up meeting your dad when he was just a small lad, when there was a trial on round where he used to live, wasn't it?
Yeah, my dad grew up on a farm, and there was a section in a road trial which was basically, I've been there and seen it, and it is literally just like a flat riverbed.
Okay. Nipper was observing that section, apparently.
Yeah.
And Nipper Allen is also the person who took my dad to his first ever trial as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of like there's a bit of a connection there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is weird. Small world.
Yeah.
But yes, going on from that, you kind of got into it then, didn't you, really?
I did and didn't. I rode a couple of Surrey schoolboys trials when we lived down south.
Right.
But they were very serious, or it felt very serious to me. You know, they were kind of, I was still young and kind of got very, very nervous before the events. And like, I think I rode like 2 or 3, but found them like really, really hard. And they're a very strong club still going now, aren't they? I think they've kind of brought through a lot of kind of the good riders from down the southeast, you know, kind of, you know, like Sam Connor and probably maybe Graham Jarvis before him, and, you know, kind of, you know, like Alex Wiggs.
Yeah, they have had a lot of success, haven't they?
Like anyone from that area will have ridden their events. I can remember riding at Hook Woods kind of way back before it was like anything like it is now, but still, you know, kind of riding there as a youth rider on the TY80.
Yeah.
But I didn't really enjoy trials at that kind of, those first few events. I think I was probably still a bit young. So it wasn't really till we moved up here to just outside Stroud. I was probably last couple of years at primary school, and we went to, we always used to go to trials on a Sunday. Something like my dad would be riding, and we went with him. There was just no argument, which I think is similar to your family from that side of things. You know, you weren't left at home, or, you know, my mum went and observed, and it was very much that's what we did on a Sunday. And I can remember my mum speaking to Pete Hughes, who ran Gwent Schoolboys, and was like, "Oh, do your 2 lads ride?" And we've got kind of youth trials, and there's a separate route for the smaller ones on like the 280s. And we went and rode one of those, and that's when I kind of really started competing, kind of really regularly. Then.
Okay. Because I remember when I started, I don't know if it was straight away, but your parents used to run the youth trials around this area, didn't they?
Yeah, my parents did quite a lot for West Wilts Youth. Something that there was, it's something that doesn't really happen anymore. But there was two clubs, like Gwent Schoolboys did a lot of youth trials. They had adults as well, but they were very much focused on the youth. But West Wilts Youth used to solely be youth trials. So you'd have, it was D class, C class, B class, and A class. Probably I'd say 30 was like a really good entry of youth.
Yeah.
But you'd all be riding round kind of.
It was a proper trial, wasn't it?
It was a proper trial. They were good trials. And
yeah.
the main clerk of the course was a guy called Brian Shuttleworth, who was always put us on always put on really, really good sections. And my parents took over doing the secretarial side of things. I can't quite remember how long for, but it was a good kind of. It was more than a couple of years.
Yeah.
I can remember kind of helping my mum and dad do the results and washing all the riders' bibs and all of that side of things as a kid, And it was,
I definitely remember like you as a family were like the organisers of some of those events.
Yeah.
Like at the start, signing on and all, but and then later on. I remember it being like Chris Wrigley, Janet.
Yeah, I think they took over from us.
It's a shame they're not still going really because I agree. Like I felt like they were real good, strong, proper youth events. Like it was a proper trial.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't like an afterthought, was it? It was very, very good.
Yeah.
A shame that that's not kind of going anymore, really.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of training now, don't we? But
yeah,
we do in this area, but. Those youth trials were, I can always remember like when you got a bit older and riding kind of like B class and A class youth. So that's kind of like 13 kind of to 16. Like the sections were hard, there were some quite good riders and they made sure that it was as hard as an adult trial, if not a bit harder. They weren't afraid to put us up things. And
no, they weren't. And I remember also like you coming out of the youths and when you went into like starting riding some of the adult stuff, didn't you go straight up to like clubman or expert level?
I went straight to expert. Well, yeah, pretty quickly I went straight to expert. The expert route around here.
In adult stuff.
Yeah. Mainly because there was a couple of kind of one particular rider, Scott Brown, who was, I think he got some podiums in the like youth championship.
Yeah.
He was kind of quite a bit better than me as a youth rider. And it was like, if he's doing it, I'm going to do it. Which is kind of, I think that still happens now. There's quite a lot of peer pressure. Well, not peer pressure, but kind of.
You've got targets, haven't you?
Yeah,
there's people that you're aiming for that you want to either beat or you're trying to compare to, I suppose.
Yeah, it still happens now. I do a little bit of the help for Stroud Valley, do some of the secretarial stuff, signing on for events now, and some of our team riders. One of them went up to expert route at a trial the end of last year, and there's probably about 3 or 4 of them are all kind of like similar ability, and they'd all, other than this one guy, entered the clubman expert route. Kind of the route down, and as they're coming to sign on, I'm kind of saying, do you know so and so's doing expert today? And they're like, is he?
Yeah.
I'll ask my dad if I can do it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's kind of like 4 kind of youth riders have suddenly decided today's the day they're moving up to expert.
Yeah, they're all on the chase, aren't they?
Yeah.
So going off from that, like you say, you were then competing, weren't you, most weeks?
Yeah, I was. I kind of could then, after kind of the days on the TY80, I then had a Fantic 80 for a little bit. That pushed me back a bit, to be honest, because kids today don't know how lucky they are. Like a Fantic 80, like the seat height on it was absolutely massive. Like I could hardly touch the floor. It's like a massive, like air-cooled, probably a Minarelli, like kind of some form of motocross engine. It kept breaking. I think it like had gearbox issues and pistons. One stage you couldn't change down properly. Massive set of upside down forks on it, so the steering lock was rubbish. And it literally like kind of like I was basically still only really riding, I'd say once, maybe twice a month,
Okay.
kind of like the youth events,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of not really, maybe doing a little bit of practicing, but it wasn't till I then got a 160 gas and could finally kind of like ride the adult trials.
What was that? A contact?
That was a 1993 160 gas. So it probably was, yeah, it was a yellow one, and that was when I think I could really ride with my dad. Then I can vividly remember. I think it was like a trial at Big Slade Quarry, which was hopefully they might be able to. There were talks of them being able to use that again, but it was kind of over in the Forest of Dean. Had some massive like hill climbs, and it being a really really wet day. And riding that trial with my dad and probably dropping like there's only two routes at adult trials then, so kind of riding the clubman route, probably dropping way over 100 marks, having some really big crashes, but like getting to the end of the day and being like, oh, that was good, that was like a proper day out. So yeah, that was kind of, I think that bike really, like, that was it then. Trials was my kind of,
That was your thing
that
then
was my
after
thing.
that?
Yeah, I can remember getting some new kind of trials clothing from like my 13th birthday. So I was probably 13 at the time, few-year-old kind of 160 gas, and that was kind of when it was like, right, I'm a trials rider. I'm riding week in, week out, really.
Okay. And that would just be at local events?
Local events, yeah. It's kind of riding kind of like the adult kind of like clubman class then. So yeah, had that for a little bit, and then kind of, I suppose it's still kind of like bike history, so to speak. I was then went to a 250 beta techno, so I was probably about 14 then.
Yeah.
Because the rules were very different back then. You could ride a 250 as soon as you were like B class. So at 13, you could ride a 250. Which
Crazy
is
to think about it now.
It's
like
crazy. It really does. It's really. I was so overbiked.
That. Yeah.
You know, I then had a 98 beta techno. That was my first like ever like brand new bike, which I rode loads. Started doing some of the youth nationals kind of like badly. Mainly only kind of like the local ones, but there was a few. There was meant to be more youth nationals. There was more youth nationals then, because there was a proper only youth AB nationals, and if you got in the points, you were, top 15. There was way over 15 riders doing it. Kind of. I never scored national points as a youth rider. I think there's probably I looked at some old results the other day. There's probably like 30, 35 kind
Really?
of youth B riders, a few less youth A riders.
A lot compared to today's numbers.
Yeah, a lot compared to today. They had a British Championship, and I think they had a Youth A and Youth B rounds where they were getting reasonable entries, and then Youth C, Youth D rounds when they were getting reasonable entries. So, yeah, very different to today, where entries at nationals are much, much lower than that.
Sounds like you're just trying to come up with excuses why you never scored national points.
Yeah, probably. I wasn't good enough, and I was
never good enough for that. I never went to a single one, I don't think.
No, I think you were.
I was a late bloomer.
Yeah, and there was more riders around my generation locally who were doing them.
Yeah, I think when I came into it, like, I remember like you and a few of the others, like the bigger lads older lads were really pushing it.
Yeah.
And very, very good. Like they were competing not only in like the youth A's locally, they would then go to like adult trial and they'd be competing with like the experts.
Yeah.
And they're maybe not winning it, but they were up there and they were like respected good riders.
Yeah.
And then kind of there was a bit of a gap then between like the next load of riders that I can really remember, which would have been like myself, Craig Bond, Lee Whitley, Hassel, Shuttleworth. Fortune was a little bit older, but yeah, there was definitely like, I remember that group of you, to be honest. Yeah, I do remember it.
I think I was quite lucky in a way. There was a few kind of riders a little bit older than me that were particularly kind of, you were like kind of Wessex centre, we were Western.
Yeah.
There's a lot of politics there between the two centres. They're both very small kind of areas of the UK that kind of run trials. But the Western Centre had, there was a kind of a gang of probably 5 or 6 kind of like older lads that all were riding expert route really very young, and that kind of encouraged kind of me as I was coming through to like, you wanted to get up to expert, kind of ride that top route at centre level.
Yeah.
Which I kind of I started doing. Got a brand new 1998 Beta Techno and started riding expert route. So that bike lasted me 2 years, but got very, 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 very badly destroyed.
That's the bike I pine after, is a 99 Techno. I never had one, but I always wanted one.
Yeah.
What was your favourite bike you've had?
That was a couple, really. My TY80. That was kind of, that had I can remember it having like a full engine rebuild and like a strip down, and kind of my dad painting it in our kitchen. And once it had all that work done to it, I remember really, really enjoying that bike. Kind of before I moved to the Fantic 80 and got put off trials again for a bit. But yeah, I remember really, really loving that bike. And then probably that 98 Beta. And then I had after the 98 Beta, I had a 315 Montesa. And that was kind of like the first, was it the first bike I bought? It was the first bike I put some money towards, I think. Because, yeah, and that I can remember kind of after like being told when I traded my 98 Beta in that it was like pretty rough and needed like a full engine rebuild, and I think it had a new kind of like barrel and piston, new main bearings, and I'd just been like just riding it, kind of didn't really know anything like why it was
hanging,
or even if it was sounding bad, I was just like
no mechanical sympathy, no mechanical knowledge.
Exactly. I remember getting a 1998 2000 Montesa, which was like one of the ones with the rainbow forks and the proper like Dougie Lampkin replica, and he was kind of world champion. Not that I was ever a major Dougie fan. I wasn't like kind of always preferred kind of like Fuji, but I think that was just kind of, sorry Dougie, not that if he's listened to this I'll be amazed, but yeah. So yeah, that was kind of, I was really into trials at that point. I loved that 315. I was starting to like work on the bikes then.
I always remember, like, you've only ever actually worked at BVM, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You weren't you started off as a Saturday boy at the original BVM?
No, I started off as work experience.
Okay.
So worse than Saturday boy. Yeah, I came for work experience. I was okay at school, but I ended up doing my A-levels, but did my work experience at BVM when I was, however old you are for work experience, like 15.
15, I think you are, aren't you?
Yeah, and then I think, like anything in life, there's quite a lot of luck involved, isn't it? Good luck or bad luck, I'm not really sure, but I obviously did okay as work experience, because not long after that, I had a phone call because Bob Miles, who kind of one of the 2 Miles brothers that really helped run BVM back in the day, was going on holiday to Australia for the summer holidays, and could I kind of like come in to help out? So
you actually got called upon for that?
I got called upon for that. I think I did that before I got my Saturday job.
Okay.
I can't remember which way it was.
You were headhunted.
I was headhunted, yeah. And then I then got from that, I think, I can't quite remember which way around it was, but I got kind of like offered like a Saturday job, and I can remember initially like kind of like, oh, I'm going to have my exams next year, I'm going to be needing all that time to revise, and my dad saying, no, you're having this Saturday job.
Oh, right.
Which I think I started on £15 a day.
Bloody hell, don't say that out, because didn't we have AMO here for only a tenner a day?
Well, no.
£5, don't you think?
Yeah, £5 a day. Yeah. And yeah, can remember coming in to do Saturdays, parents driving me over and dropping me off, and then coming to collect me kind of at the end. That was at the London Road shop. I kind of started there just after we moved from Slad Road to London Road, in so never worked in the...
You never worked in the original premises? The
original premises. Yeah. No, I think there was a premises before Slad Road, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
think that goes way... Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe that was when Mark was first starting out,
yeah,
maybe.
I think there was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but London Road, that was a massive step up, wasn't it? I remember, like, the size of the place. It's like an old like petrol station forecourt / car showroom, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah,
huge.
yeah. BVM was very different then, though. We were doing BMWs. We were main BMW dealers.
Yeah,
I think at one stage we had like 13 members of staff.
yeah,
So yeah, it was very, very different to what it is. You know, we weren't just doing the trials bikes; we kind of doing road bikes as well.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, you started off as a Saturday boy. You must have enjoyed it because you went straight there after school, didn't you? To work?
Pretty much, yeah.
Or not?
I think, why did they start straight after school? Who was retiring or leaving, or did they just want someone else? Can't quite remember. But yeah, I was doing my A levels, and then I think it was like, oh, you know, do you want to come and work at BVM full time? I didn't really want to go to university. Never really knew what I wanted to do, and probably being honest, wasn't quite mature enough at like. How did you go to university? Like 18?
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
it depends on you, but yeah,
Yeah.
like 17, 18. Yeah.
I couldn't have wanted to. I didn't want to leave home then and go to university. I was kind of a bit of a, still am really, bit of a, you know, not really keen on being like, you know, away from home and out on the town and all of that side of things. Didn't want to live in the city.
No, I remember. Yeah, you
Yeah.
used to be quite. Yeah, you definitely weren't one of those back then.
No, it wasn't.
Probably more outgoing now than you were ever in your younger years.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I reckon you are more. Yeah, you're more outgoing now than you ever were when we were younger, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably true. Yeah, it's taken like 42 years to get to this level. By the time I'm 80, I'll probably be like.
You now actually drink, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, you just never really did it, did you?
I didn't drink kind of till I was probably about kind of early 30s.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much teetotal till then.
Is that partly to blame with Mark Fornell and Steve Saunders though?
No, that wasn't. It was Steve Saunders. There was a BVM Christmas do when I was probably, I'd say, 19, and I'm blaming Steve Saunders. So I think he was a little bit worse for wear as well.
He can't handle his drink either.
No,
to be
he
fair.
can't handle a drink. No, and I ended up. Oh yeah, I was sick in the pub car park.
All over Bob Miles' shoes.
All
wasn't it?
over my shoes.
Oh, your own shoes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bob Miles very kindly looked after me then.
Yeah. But backstory to that is Steve Saunders, multiple British champion. He used to work at the BVM Moto as a mechanic, didn't he?
He was a mechanic, yeah.
So that's how we know Steve. He used to work with us.
Yeah. So yeah, we used to spend. He's a good mechanic, and it was always good to be able to kind of push your bike in the back door when you've broken it and kind of hope he could fix it in his lunch break for you.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe tune it up a little bit for you, and you know, kind of if it was the type of stuff you couldn't do.
Yeah, it was always nice to have him like there and just like reassurance when he'd have a go on your bike, and if he thought it was good, you were like, wow, it must be good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we kind of like from that side of things. I think we've kind of learnt on the job, haven't we, from mechanical side of trials bikes? You know, kind of.
Yeah, we used to have to go and give a hand the odd time. I think like that was never our jobs at the original BVM, was it? We were in the parts department, but we used to be, you know, quite involved with the workshop.
Yeah, I think something that I was quite different to a lot of youth riders is when I turned 17, my parents stopped coming to events. They were pretty much kind of fed up of always being asked to observe. Kind of, they'd put a lot into the sport because they'd done like the Westwich Youth thing, and you know, they kind of like they'd rock up at a trial and they'd be like, oh, I kind of just fancy watching today, and like both of them would end up observing. You know, so I got a Vauxhall Corsa. It's my second car with a tow bar. My brother was still riding then. And there's actually a photograph of this Vauxhall Corsa with two 315 Montesas on the back.
I remember that.
Yeah, and we were just like, had a trailer. I couldn't reverse the trailer. I still can't reverse the trailer now. But that was kind of it from their input into trials. From like, they still helped, a little bit financially with bits and pieces. But it was a little bit like, you're going to go to these events on your own. You're going to kind of like work on your own bikes type thing.
Yeah, you were very much kind of like, if you want to do this, here you go, go do it. I do remember, like I say, you being, it was just you know, sometimes, because your brother would sort of come in and out at phases, wouldn't he? He'd be like all in, and then all of a sudden, maybe not.
I don't know. There's probably not that many listeners that can remember my brother riding, but he was more natural. Younger brothers tend to be better, don't they, Craig?
No.
Well, he's not. He was definitely more natural than me, but he's done a lot of different things, gave up a lot of times, and kind of come and go. Came and went with trials. Kind of if he consistently had ridden, he would have been kind of
he was
very, very natural on a bike.
Yeah, he wasn't he? Very natural. He'd always sometimes choose weird bikes, I think.
He always had to have something there.
Full on attempt, wouldn't he?
Yeah, it'd be a full on attempt. Yeah,
he wasn't scared of anything, if I remember right.
No.
Some big crashes.
Yeah, but then nor was I back in the day. I can always remember going practicing with you before the Intercentre.
Oh yeah.
And you were
when you almost broke your leg.
Yeah, and I almost broke my leg. Yeah, and you were. To give you like a bit of like backstory, you were riding for the Wessex team.
Yeah.
And we were adults then, weren't we? Yeah.
Well, we were working at BVM, so we must have been. Yeah.
You were riding for the Wessex team. I was riding for the Western team, but we were working together, and we went practicing to another guy who was working for BVM, Scott Thompson, to his granddad's woods, and there was a horrible like undercut step, and it was. It's probably, I don't know why I thought I could do it really, because it involved getting lift.
Yeah, which you've never been able to do.
Never been able to do.
Never been your thing.
Yeah, and it was probably, I reckon, like 4 or 5 foot of lift.
I think more like 5 foot.
Yeah,
5 to 6.
Yeah,
it's massive.
It was a lot of lift, and Scotty could do it, couldn't he?
Yeah, well, Scotty, going with Scotty. In the car park, you'd think he'd be world champion.
Yeah.
He was so good in the car park. He could do wheelies, he could do rolling endos, he could do back hops.
Yeah.
In a trial, I don't think he ever beat me once.
No.
But he could do...
He could
could do the playful stuff, couldn't he?
Yeah.
And down at his granddad's farm in the woods, he was awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it and I was like, I ain't trying that. No. Even before you attempted it.
Yeah. But anyway, Scotty did it. I did it. Well, tried to do it, but it was so undercut. There was all these like old roots sticking out, like literally like all to like catch your legs. And yeah, I can remember my foot kind of like going through one of these roots and my body going one way and my bike going the other way. And Craig just like almost like having the upper hand for the Intercentre team trial because I'd attempted it, but had like a massive crash.
Yeah, it definitely. I think I was ripping it out of you there and then because you almost broke your leg in the process. It was such a big crash.
Yeah.
And I think I was just ripping it out of you then. And I was just like, there's no way I'm trying it. Yeah. And I think it hurt. You hurt after that, didn't you?
I think now I've reached the stage, I've had so many. Back when I was young, I kind of would like literally, I felt like I'd attempt anything pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you start to have crashes. And then now I look at stuff being a bit older and you think, ooh, that's going to, you can almost see it kind of going wrong.
Or you look for, if it does go wrong, where can I go?
Where can I go? And I know now as a rider, I can't really get much lift and I can't do back wheel.
Yeah.
So, if those situations arise, I kind of like back wheel, I'm just going to go onto the sump. And if I really can't get lift, I think, I'm not really going to get up that, kind of. But that's kind of learning as a trials rider, isn't it? I think. You reach that point where it's your techniques. You kind of, know what you can do and what you can't do, and you try and use the right technique that's in your kind of repertoire, don't you, for the section as much as anything else.
Definitely. And then. Did you start Well, I suppose you didn't start riding nationals until you were at BVM, weren't you? When you started to do all that?
Yeah, I think I kind of.
As in, like when we talk, they were called Novagar rounds, which is now what's the S3 championship.
Yeah, that's kind of. Yeah, I basically my first ever national was the Nut Trial, run by Family Talbot, which was on the road back in the day. It was a proper like mud national. I think it's one of the few trials that I actually used fifth gear in sections before. It was like proper mud, wasn't it?
Proper traditional southern winter trial.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember riding that. And then I like that. I love being out on the road. And kind of then I think my next one was the Vic Britain. Because then that would have been December. And then I can remember entering the Vic Britain for like the next year.
Which what, January, February time?
Yeah, January to February time. And yeah, I can remember riding that, and that was probably the year before foot and mouth. Because yeah, we had foot and mouth disease in the UK, didn't we? 2001, I think.
Okay.
And like all trials
Came to a stop.
came to a stop for quite a long time because of that. So one of the many kind of pandemic type things we've lived through, I guess.
Yeah, one of the big setbacks that we've had.
Yeah. So yeah, and then kind of rode the local nationals, kind of rode the Wallace and the Colmore kind of consistently. Managed, I think probably one of my best ever rides was I managed to get 14th in the victory trial in like the days when it was a Novagar Championship, so similar to the S3s, but there was one route then rather than two.
Yeah.
And was really chuffed with that because that's like, there'd have probably been 120 riders there, and to manage to get like in the top to get the national points at those trials was like,
it was really good back then.
It was really good back then.
Bearing in mind as well, like you say, one route, and there was quite a few riders that were there who would also be competing at British Championships.
Yeah, I think that's something, to me, everyone looks back at like when they were in their prime, that was like the trials were better then, but I did like the one route Novagar series.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it seems, you were just competing against so many people.
Yeah.
And it was more of a challenge to get into the points. Was like, fair play.
You've done really well there.
Top 15 in a national.
Yeah, I remember because that was the same year that I first got into him as well. I think, didn't I get into him in the Colmore?
Yeah, I think.
And then the next round was the victory, where you then got into it, and it was like, I think at our level then, because we were very close at our riding ability then, it was literally like week in, week out. Whoever was slightly better off was just a few places in front of one another.
Yeah, we were. I think kind of those type of years, we were very much like, you were never like 30 marks in front of me, and I was never 30 marks in front of you. It would be like 2 marks, and one of us might be winning for 6 weeks on the bounce, but the other one was never very far behind.
No, exactly. And I remember seeing you in the victory with that, and you were riding like really, really good that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I think you knew it was on the cards.
Yeah, we had late numbers, didn't we? Which kind of helped. But it was, one of those,
one of those
trial.
good.
Innovation in trials is what the Jitsi brand is all about. Combining our extensive experience in trials apparel design with the new era of energy-absorbing performance from rayon has enabled us to create the most protective, most comfortable, and most lightweight range of trials protectors. Developed to move with you on the bike, light, airy, and flexible when in motion, but intelligently stiffening on impact when you need it most. Available online and in store at BVM Moto.
We got to S3 rounds. And then you've also done the Scottish 6-day trial as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Quite a few times.
Yeah, I've done the Scottish 6 times. First year was 2005, and last year would be 6 years after that, 2010.
You did consecutive years, did you? I didn't quite realise that. I thought you had a year off or so once.
Yeah, no, I never missed a year. I think that's something that's quite important with Scotland. If you miss maybe 1, maybe 2 years, any more than that, I think it's almost like starting again.
Yeah, I think you kind of can lose the rhythm if you're not careful. It's especially for people like us from the areas like we live, we're not used to that type of terrain.
Yeah, I was exactly what I was going to say, really. Like, it's just so alien to us to ride on the rocks. And it took me, I'd say, at least kind of 3 years to even really understand the event, kind of, as a rider. And I think I was probably pretty slow in that, to be honest. I think I could have understood it a bit quicker, but I think the first year you just want to finish, don't you?
Yeah, I think for people around our neck of the woods, it's such an alien thing, isn't it? And I think there's a lot of it back then when we were doing it at the start. Like, you started a year before me. You did it 2000. My first one was 2006. But yeah, I think first year you're just like, let's just survive the event. get one under your belt to try and understand it, because it's like no other event you ever would do.
Yeah.
And then after that, then start trying to look at like better results. But yeah, I think it did take you probably 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think it took me a long time to start to look at the better results side of it. I think I just wanted to get a couple of finishes under my belt.
Yeah.
And kind of the event's different back then. And obviously, I was much younger, I was early 20s, but probably a bit of a better rider than I am now. But it was almost like I then realised it was actually quite easy to get a finish, particularly if you were kind of quite conservative on some of the bigger sections, you know, kind of asking for fives when you shouldn't, or, you know, not really, and maybe not really trying to get cleans, and like, you know, centipeding up a lot of sections for, you know, however many dabs, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dabs, and still getting a 3.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, like, you were expert level. It's not like you were clubman level at that point either. You were
and I was pretty fit. I was riding a lot of the Novagars, as they were called then, like the S3 National Series as they are now, but not really so many of the northern ones. Tend to just to like kind of do them. There's a few more kind of ones that weren't too far away from here.
Do a bit more like you go Midlands way, but maybe not kind of the 4 or 5 hour plus ones.
Exactly. So yeah, kind of. I think I got 4 second class awards. The last one I was unlucky because I was right in the first class awards till I hurt my shoulder on a Friday, and Craig Talbot just rode on by and didn't.
No, there's more of a story to this.
Yeah.
So we've done. Did we write? We've done at least 2 together.
We've got our numbers up on the shop wall, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
So
I reckon we've done at least 2 together. I reckon.
You've got a lot of. I think one year they put us together when we didn't necessarily say we wanted to be together.
No, I think that's kind of one of the ways how we kind of got to know each other a bit more closer.
I think that was 2007.
Yeah.
You were like kind of like 6 and I was like 10.
Yeah. But anyway, we were riding across the moor. It was me, you, and your brother.
Yeah.
We were all near each other one year, and David, Lawrence's younger brother, is he's a bit of a loony, or he was back then.
A bit more
he
wild.
was flat out, wasn't he? Me and Laurence could never keep up with him. He was always ahead of us. Anyway, we're going along this moor. I'm coming up behind Laurence, and then Laurence comes off on the moor, and to be honest, it really didn't look like much of a crash, but he never got up. And it was like, oh, okay. So I like pulled up next to you, and I was like, oh, you all right? Yeah. And you're like, oh, my shoulder. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And then I just got on my bike and
carried on. Yeah. And then you saw my parents, who were like, well, where's Laurence?
Oh, no, it was your brother.
Was it?
Yeah, it was your brother.
At the next section. And you were like, where's Laurence? And you were like, well, he's had a big crash on the moor. And David was replied, well, is he all right? And you replied with, I ain't no doctor.
Yeah, that was. I carried on up the street. Yeah. But in fairness, he never went back to see you, so he couldn't have been that worried about you.
No, but it was one of those. I can remember that crash quite vividly because it shows. Basically, we were dropping. Craig could probably tell you the name of the group. It was on like what used to be road race day. It was on a Friday.
It's the one little bit more you have to do.
Yeah, one little bit more you have to do, and we were coming like back to the road. Before we started to kind of ride along the bottom of like
it was the group before Milner Meach.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I can remember kind of like thinking, oh, I've kind of like done all right this week. You know, we've just got this one little bit more to do, and I knew where I was going. You know, we're kind of going back to the road, and that's like Friday kind of sorted. So yeah, kind of just. Wasn't really concentrating, and we're just dropping down off a moor. Front wheel hit a rock, and I went straight over the handlebars, but didn't let go with my like clutch hand, and basically felt like I'd done a somersault kind of with my shoulder, kind of like gone right round, and it is still an injury that I've got today. It is still a bit.
You've always kind of you've never fully recovered from that, have you?
No, and the last 2
feel bad for laughing now.
The last 2 trials I've ridden, I've kind of. I've gone over the handlebars and both times landed on my left shoulder, and both times there was kind of a little bit of swearing, which there kind of shouldn't have been, but it was kind of one of those that's like, I think it's definitely something that I feel I could kind of rip it out eventually if it goes a bit wrong, or even changing tyres, like I can feel it kind of suddenly go and suddenly give it a little pain. All maybe if Craig was a doctor, I wouldn't be in this position.
Yeah, true. I am now a first aider though.
Yeah,
so
you are,
I'm now a qualified first aider. So I would
should
look after you this time if
should
it
know what
happens
to
again.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose that could have been the year that there was another funny story on the Friday of Scotland, wasn't there? Crossing the ferry.
I don't know whether we should save that for like tales, if you know what I mean, like
for tales?
trials,
Oh,
funny
yeah.
stories.
Yeah, we could save that for trials. Funny.
Although you didn't find it very funny at the time.
No, I didn't. No.
Next time you see Laurence, ask him about what happened on the ferry crossing at the Scottish Six Day and why Laurence might have been
Pretty angry.
pretty angry and
Yeah.
got on the wrong boat.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, you did Scotland quite a few years, didn't you? You did. Yeah, I never realised it was 6 in a row. You did.
Yeah, 6 in a row.
You did Reef Free Day was another one you used to do. You've done quite a few of those, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not as many as I did Scotland. I did the first Wreath was a year where they basically cancelled the Friday. No, the Saturday. Did they cancel the Saturday?
Oh, because it was really bad rain.
Yeah, it was really bad rain.
I think I might have been there that year, maybe, or
Yeah.
maybe not.
can remember a good customer and a good friend of the shop, James Druitt from Oxfordshire way, Didcot. He actually drove up with our entries for the Wreath 3 Day. I had my entry because it was all back in the day. It was all entry forms, and it was still a really hard trial to get in. He was observing at the Colmore, and I had a filled out entry form with him because it had like come out like on the Saturday before the Colmore. Gave it to James, and on the Sunday after the Colmore trial, he drove up to
and posted them through the door.
Posted them through the door, so they got their entries like on the Sunday, the same as all the local people.
God, young guns wouldn't understand that at all these days, would they?
No. Yeah. So yeah, we had the first year it was just absolutely teamed down.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was on the Friday, and they were worried that they weren't gonna. They delayed the start on the Saturday, but yeah, it was really, really, really wet. It was the year there was a lot of flooding down this way.
Well, again, like we've ridden the Reef 3 Day together as well, haven't we? We've camped together, like for the weekend and that. And I think that's actually how it all come about with me starting to work at the original BVM.
It did, didn't it? Yeah.
Me and you rode near each other for the weekend, and the Richmond Motorcycle Club put on like a really good do. They've got like a big, massive marquee, and they used to. Well, I think they still do. They had like food and entertainment on in the evenings of the between each day of the Reef 3 Day, and we were sat talking. And I can remember sort of saying about how I wasn't really happy in my job that I was in as a joiner woodworker, and I think that kind of like sowed the seed a little bit.
You
didn't
came
it?
back with us, didn't you, in the van?
That was it. Yeah. I think
sure
my
why.
parents might have stayed up for a holiday or something with my brother, maybe.
Yeah, and you parked your car at my parents' house, but that could be another funny story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't go into that. We save that for Craig's one.
Yeah.
Because that's not really anything to do with trials.
That's just me going into some random person's house asking for Laurence.
Yeah. But yeah. So rode the Wreath. Quite a few years. Rode the Scottish. And it was about that time towards the end, like 2010, that I met my now wife. And kind of started to lose a little bit of interest in trials, I think, or riding them anyway. It was kind of, you're at that stage where it's like you've done it for quite a long time. And I think that's something that kind of, what's the right kind of words?
Well, I suppose in a way you'd kind of like, you'd almost completed trials.
You kind of get to that stage, I think, where it depends on your level, but you've kind of done all you can do at that level.
Yeah.
And that like as long as you're like kind of a human being, so to speak, you are what you are. You're not suddenly gonna get turn into Tony Bow overnight, however much kind of riding you do, and you're still enjoying it, but you're just like kind of thinking, maybe there's kind of other things to do.
You got into your road cycling a bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you started to do, because I always remember you always were just like 100% trials, like I was. There was like nothing else, was there?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then like I remember like when you and Rosie like got your house and started living together, like you started to kind of find other interests a bit, didn't
Yeah, I
you?
did
That
quite a lot. I did do quite a lot of road cycling. Did
yeah,
like a couple of 100-mile kind of sportives. So yeah, got fairly fit with like kind of that side of things.
yeah,
Still like kind of working at BVM. But yeah, I had a kind of few years kind of, I suppose like 20, I'd say probably like 2011 to probably like 2014. I'd say I rode kind of a handful of times really. And did kind of miss it, particularly when there was like a good kind of local trial on, and I knew that I'm not going to be riding. Didn't have a bike for a bit, and then kind of it all changed a little bit with BVM because the old BVM went bankrupt basically, or the old boss did.
yeah. Because BVM back then, as big as it was never a limited company, was it?
No, it was very different kind of the setup to what it is now. We're a proper limited company and 3 directors and all of the things that entailed. But yeah, back kind of 2009, it started going a bit wrong for the old BVM. We lost BMW. We used to be a BMW and a trials bike shop, so BMW road bikes. Quite a big kind of like setup doing the BMWs in the summer and trials in the winter. They obviously kind of work quite well, kind of with the seasons of when things are busy. But yeah, BVM lost BMW in 2009 because that got put into Cotswold, who are like one of the similar, like, we won't go down a tangent too much of like the corporate world of the way everything's going, kind
Yeah.
of. So yeah, and eventually in 2013, the owner of BVM went personally bankrupt. He wasn't limited. I was on holiday at the time and came back to like not having a job, which was fun. And then in June, I want to say, I always get confused whether no, it must be 2014. So I got married in 2013. So in like 1st of June 2014, we myself and Richard started BVM version 2.
Yeah, you took on the name, didn't you? And
Yeah,
bought a lot of the
we bought the
stock
name. We bought a lot of the old stock. Like
off of the receivers,
off
wasn't
the
it?
receivers. Like it was a real stressful time for everybody. But yeah, took on a kind of a little industrial unit, which is where we still are now, but we've expanded. Our industrial state changed quite a lot since then. It was quite rough when we moved in here, and it's kind of it's a very different estate now, isn't it? We've got
It's improving all the time.
Yeah,
It's becoming very, very Stroudy, is the only way I can
yeah,
describe it now.
yeah.
We've now got coffee shop on
Yeah,
the side,
we've got
cafe,
we've got a coffee shop, we've got a brewery,
boxing gym.
we've got a boxing gym. When we moved in, it was very much people repairing cars, and
Yeah.
now it's kind of very very different, and a lot smart around here. Still still room for improvement, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
So took on BVM.
And
kind of
starting riding a little bit more then
Started
again,
riding
didn't
a
you?
little bit more to kind of like obviously it's very important to like promote. It promotes BVM bias riding.
Yeah.
Not that like we're not amazing riders, and it's not like, oh wow, he's done that, so he must be someone to buy some parts from. But you're seeing the people that you are kind of dealing with, and you kind of, I think something that people often ask us why we change bikes quite regularly here, don't we? We've kind of
We've slowed down probably a bit in the last couple of years when we're
Yeah.
not doing it, but there was a stage where we were on like potentially like 3 or 4 different bikes a year, wasn't it, ourselves?
But I think we've always ridden the newest kind of model that's come out. Like this year, I've been on the Synchro. You've been on an E-Start TRS,
Injection
the
TRS.
injection TRS, and you've read the new Sherco for a little bit.
Yeah.
We kind of try, and it's what you don't really know a bike till you've ridden it. And
No.
I think by kind of owning a bike, how do you change an air filter? You know exactly how to do it. Like, how do you clean a carb? You know exactly how to do it, or you should do. You should clean your carbs, people. But yeah, that type of thing is
you kind of only really know it by almost being the bike's owner.
Exactly, yeah. That's always been our thought behind it. Is it's all very well as looking at a spec sheet and working on a brand new bike when it's in the shop, in the showroom. But until you actually get it in like real life and get it muddy, get it dirty, actually ride the thing, you get to learn how the bike handles and reacts, and also the best ways to look after it and maintain it, especially for our like UK weather conditions. And I think that like going back to your point of like we're not necessarily amazing riders, like we're a good club level, and I think that can actually, we use that as I think that's actually a good thing in a way, because we're very much like our customers. We're after the same types of stuff that our customers are after. We're not necessarily after the most powerful, most aggressive bike. Yeah, we can do that for you if you want it, but we also know how to get them to be a bit more clubman friendly and things like that, don't we? I think that's kind of been a bit of our selling point. Why quite a few people come to us for certain stuff.
Yeah, so you want the bike to be, you want to be in control of the bike, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's very few people who are riding like a World and British Championship that need a really, really powerful bike.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's kind of, you want a soft, kind of, particularly around here where it's very muddy, like a soft kind of grippy bike is easier to ride for most people.
Yeah. So yeah, like I say, then you sort of come back to it, and then I think really over the last 2 years you've really like picked up your game. I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
2 to 3 years, maybe. I'd say, like, because you came back and you've been riding club level throughout the whole time of like BVM being back up and running. Which are we 11 years now? That
it might even be 12 years.
Oh God. But then I think maybe 2-3 years ago, I think like because you've also got two sons now as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think they've got like that a little bit older, and where I was also out at the nationals and everything, I think you started to get a bit more of a taste for that stuff again, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like you've been, I think you've definitely been a lot keener the last few years. Like you've been doing a lot more bigger events again.
Yeah, I think it's something I've kind of changed. You can kind of change a bit in trials, I think, of what events you kind of ride. And I went away from doing the nationals a little bit because of lost a bit of interest. And also, I'm still a bit unsure on the fact that they put 2 routes into the Normandales, the Novagards as they were called, or the S3s, and it basically made, I could get in the top 15 at one stage in a Novagard round on a really good day if there was, kind of.
And that was when it was just like a one route
that
trial.
was one route, and I always remember kind of them putting 2 routes in and going back to the same trial, and it would be like, rather than just ride straight up the stream, we were like straight away we were on the hard route, and it was like you're going out on the bank and doing this and going up this horrible step, and it kind of, I was like, oh, I don't really want to drop down. I feel like I really like these trials, and kind of I can do okay in them, and it was like, after a few kind of years of finishing near the bottom on the hard route, it was like, oh, I still don't really want to drop down, and kind of things changed, and kind of had enough of doing those nationals for a bit. But yeah, since kind of you kind of been riding for training for Scotland, haven't you? I turned 40, so I could have done it years ago, but I felt I could ride in the over 40s class, and it'd be like a competitive class. And I think it is. It's very competitive class, but I think it's changed again, as in that it's got harder. The kind of clubman route at S3s. I
think the level at the clubman route at S3s is now what the Novagard used to be.
It's probably close. It's definitely close.
Maybe the odd little bit taken out from the S3 back when it was single route, but I'd say it's not far off.
No, there's still some fairly big sections on the clubman route, isn't there? There's still some like quite tasty steps, and some, they're not afraid to put us up stuff. It's still a good challenging day out.
Yeah.
Started, I think that was like 2024, kind of started riding a few of those.
Yeah. And then you were the main drive really for us to both do the full S3 championship last year, I would say.
Yeah, where you kind of realised that the hard route was getting a bit, you were near the bottom, weren't you? You'd reached
Yeah,
that
I
stage.
rode a couple of events where I felt like I literally only got out of like a handful of sections, and it
Yeah.
was like I was getting a bit demoralised by it. Had a bit of a strange year a few years ago with that, and then I ended up riding a Clubman Route 1.
And doing okay up north, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like I sort of had a bit of a weird day. It kind of took me a while to get into it, and then I sort of hung back and waited for you, and then it was a bit like the old days. We had quite a good crack
Yeah.
and rode around, had a good day, and yeah, kind of got back to enjoying them again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's pointless riding trials if you don't enjoy it at the end of the day. That's kind of
that's the whole reason why we're doing it, isn't it, really?
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of there's very few people who are making any money from it. If you're not enjoying it, then change something so you do enjoy it, whether that's change a bike or change the trials you do or dropping down a route or whatever. You shouldn't be getting up. You should be getting up looking forward to going to a trial, not kind of thinking, I
Yeah.
don't really want to do this.
No, true.
But yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and have you got any more plans then, trials-wise?
I don't know. I keep toying with the idea of doing the Scottish again,
I think you should do it one more time.
but
But I
it's-
think you got to do it sooner rather than later, because you've been doing quite a lot of riding these past couple of years, and it's like, are you going to be able to maintain that?
yeah, it is difficult. I kind of feel I know I'd just be going to make the numbers up. I look kind of down the results this year of riders who are regularly beat me in the kind of S3 series, and some northern riders as well who are going to be definitely going to beat me up on the rocks. And you see the positions that they're coming and kind of the marks that they're losing, and you think that's quite a hard, that's a hard week.
Yeah.
I think my best in Scotland was just outside the top 100, 103rd or something. But I think if I was going now, it'd be like 200.
Mm.
And it's like, is that fun to go and like lose that many marks? But then at the same time, it's like,
Yeah, I think it can be. It's like, I think unfortunately we all have to accept that we get to a point where it's, we're getting older.
I know what you mean. But it's kind of, I kind of like thinking, would I enjoy it?
Yeah.
And it's so expensive. That's the,
Yeah.
it's probably looking kind of like 3-4 grand kind of week, really.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's like, that's a lot of kind of S3s or family holiday somewhere, basically. But I think there's a lot of people in, I'm lucky to be able to say I did it 6 times when I was kind of living at home and before
True.
wife and kids, because there's a lot of people who were never able to do it, but kind of when I was young, it was kind of all I wanted to do really was trials, and that's all I spent my money on.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I think that's given everyone a bit of an insight to Laurence.
Yeah.
Oh, Laurence isn't actually his name, by the way.
No.
So, like, for those of you that might be trying to like stalk Laurence on Facebook or anything like
I want to
that,
be doing that.
Laurence's actual real name is John, and it wasn't until I started working at BVM that I had to transition from calling him John to Laurence, and it took me bloody ages. But now he doesn't look like a John; he's a Laurence. But you better just explain that quickly.
Well, yeah. Basically, when I started as a work experience at the old BVM, there was already 2 Johns, and I can remember answering the phone one day and trying to. So answering the phone at work experience, they must have like dropped me in it, but I was and they're trying to explain who I was. And it was like, John, and it was like, no, not that, it was kind of really, so I was just like, I need a different name. And they were like,
so, no, not that John, I want to speak to the other John.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not, it was quite difficult. So I went with Laurence, which is my middle name, but there was some confusion kind of over the spelling, basically, because it's...
Basically, Bob Miles asked Laurence, goes, what's your middle name? And Laurence goes, my name's John Laurence Laugh. He goes, oh, how do you spell that? Is it L-A-U or is it L-A-W? And Laurence didn't actually know.
I didn't know
how to spell his own name.
Because...
And bearing in mind, he's like 15, 16 at this point.
Yeah, but part of the reason behind it is because my mum didn't properly know.
I don't believe this. I think we should get your mum in.
Because on all my school exam papers and everything, when you're at school and they're like, your name has to be correct.
Yeah.
There's no Lawrence.
It's just John Leff.
It's just John Leff.
So,
So
is
when
your name? Have you really got a middle name?
Yeah,
then?
I really have. Yeah, but when I was enrolled in school, my mum obviously went, "Oh, I'm not really sure how they spell his middle name, so I'll just leave that bit out." So yeah, but yeah, eventually, must have looked at my birth certificate and found out it was spelled with a U, and that's yeah, and it's kind of turned into now there's kind of more people that call me Laurence than call me John.
Yeah, the only people I know that call you John now is your wife Rosie and your mum and dad.
There's a few customers.
There's a couple of customers, is there?
Yeah.
It's funny though when Rosie comes in and calls you, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I think that would do us then for getting to know Laurence a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep up to date by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.